Next up, the Plague. The Plague is a debuff periodically applied to a random player. The player pulsates and takes damage. The Plague does more and more damage as it ticks on a certain player. About 10 seconds is enough for 25 men. For 10 men you can take it higher up, even to 15, and keep the Plague only among ranged and healers. The Plague jumps from one player to the other, and you want it to jump, because if it would stay for too long on a single player, it would kill that player. The catch is, if you had the Plague once, then if you take it again, you will take a lot more damage. So, the idea is that a player takes the Plague, keeps it for a couple of seconds, and then it gives it to another player, preferably another player that did not have the Plague before. If you had the Plague once and took it again, quickly pass it on. As ranged, if you get the Plague, first of all, don't get it back into the melees. It just spreads like wildfire and it will do no good. You will want to go to a side, to a place where few people are. Ideally, you would want to make it move from right to left, from ranged to ranged. It can be quite challenging to properly achieve this with malleable goo ads and all the other stuff going around. Still, if you are ranged and didn't have the Plague before, don't run away from someone who has it and wishes to pass it on. If you did have the Plague, then it is time to actually start noticing what's going on with the Plague, who has it and where is he. If the Plague gets into the melee bunch, it will jump really fast from one to the other. It's good if you can get it out before the second or third stack. To get it out, try to stay a bit spread out, at max melee DPS range from the boss. Eventually, either someone with fast reaction time will take it out, or a green ad explosion will spread the melees, and so the Plague will be taken to the ranged or healers. The hardest part of this is in phase 3, when there is nothing to spread out the melees and nothing to take the Plague out. And on top of that, the encounter area gets smaller and smaller. Here I am in phase 3. I get the Plague, I notice it, I take it to a ranged, and it just jumps back into the melee. It jumps again, and then again, until it jumps back to me, and I take it out into the ranged again. And it stays there for a while, but the goo makes the ranged have to come closer to the melees, and it starts jumping to people who already had it before, and we wipe. Overall, phase 3 is the hardest part of this battle and is where most wipes will occur. Why? It becomes a DPS race as the professor puts a debuff on his tank. The more total stacks your tanks get, the more damage the raid will take. If everything goes fine during the transitions, then you can use Bloodlust Heroism in phase 3. On our first 2 kills, we used Bloodlust during the second transition. On our third kill, we used it during phase 3. It's somewhat of a soft enrage timer, but it's not really that soft. Yes, the room gets flooded with ooze, but that's not what's killing you, it's the debuffs on the tanks. What you can do is to consider the entire fight before phase 3 as practice for phase 3. How are you handling the malleable goo? How are you handling the gas vials? Are you avoiding them well enough? On Heroic, these two abilities can cause quite a powerful DPS drop and can be quite problematic in phase 3 when DPS is needed the most. As arranged in phase 3, you will have to deal with an increasingly diminishing encounter area, with the Plague, and on top of that with the goo. It's good to have someone notifying on vent when goo is about to hit. The goo spins in the air, and although it flies in a straight line, It can be difficult to spot where it is going to land. If you see the warning malleable goo near you, move out. Then there are the gas vials on the floor. Well, they actually are called choking gas bombs, but most people know them as gas vials. They appear on the DBM timer as next choking gas bomb. A melee that steps into the gas vials is a useless melee. That melee will do 0 DPS for 15 seconds. That's right, 0 DPS. He will be just a waste of heals. Everybody says to avoid the gas vials. Everybody knows to avoid them, but how come it happens that many times someone gets hit by them? Well, that has to do with the way they are getting placed. Normally, during the fight, the bombs would be a bit behind the boss to the left and right of him, leaving most melees to assume that there is a safe spot right in his behind. However, in Phase 3, Putricide is almost always on the move, changing his orientation, and even more importantly, it seems that if there are walls next to him or patches of ooze, the bombs will appear closer to each other, sometimes even forming a line right behind him, where the safe spot was supposed to be. The only solution to this is to watch the timer for the next choking gas bomb. Basically, as a melee, that's what you should do in Phase 3 to be absolutely sure you avoid the bombs. Watch that timer and move in front of the boss before each cast. He doesn't get a parry haste effect, so go on and smack him in the face. Okay, now that the melees and the ranged are doing proper DPS, let's get back to the tanks. I was saying about a debuff that acts as a soft enrage timer. It's called Mutated Plague. 3 stacks of it are barely manageable, 4 are a wipe. If you go in with 4 tanks, then main gets 2 stacks, off tank 2, third tank 2, fourth tank 2. Then each of them would take another stack. Although more safe, 4 tanks brings DPS problems during the transitions, but with the recent DPS buffs to ICC, you might still be able to do it. Another way to address this is to have a DPS tanking for a short while and taking a debuff, so then it would be 2 2 2 1 and then 3 3 3 on the plague stacks. Remember that if the tanking DPS dies or if any of the other tanks die, then the boss gets healed. The second method is more risky, as having a DPS in DPS gear tanking a 25 heroic boss can pose quite a few coordination challenges. So here I am, a Fury warrior in DPS gear, getting ready to tank him. I equip my shield, I sit in front of the boss full time to make sure I don't get the gas bombs. The third tank gets 2 stacks. I'm watching the timer. Pain suppression is called out on vent on me. I use shield block, shield wall and taunt. I take a couple of hits and 1 debuff. Then main tank quickly gets him off me. The fight then carries on as normal and we take him down before 4 stacks of each debuff are applied. Overall, quite a challenging fight. The more people that know what to do, the less wipes you will have. Don't give up, eventually you will succeed and you will get the drops. I wish you the best of luck. This has been a guide from learntoplaywo.com. Thanks for watching.